Okay. So first to second week of November. So we are under SAS and SM. So our schedule for summative assessment is November 9. Okay. I'd like to do it over 2 days, no? Summative assessment. Do you follow? Any questions so far? No? So anyway, we barely have about 3 weeks for lecture. I don't want to use the last 3 days, no, for lecture, so you can review for your summative assessment. Okay. Okay. Do you follow? So tentative schedule for summative assessment is November 9. No? Okay. It must be followed though. So I'd like to use the last day, no? So ang hirap naman if you're going to do it on November 8. Yung okay, maybe you will have schedule for your other exams. Okay. Any questions so far? No. So anyway, I have reviewed where's my bakit nawala yung aking the summative assessment result, rather the formative assessment result for FA3, no. There are 2 erroneous items, no. I will discuss them later. I think only one, no. I have corrected I've given everyone a free score on that item. Okay, so you don't need to worry, I've given everyone a free score. So far the results are okay, no. 2 participants are on the borderline. The passing grade is 55, no. So far only 2 participants are on the borderline and everyone has passed. Of the how many attempts? 166 attempts. Okay, that have been done so far, no. No one has requested for an extension, so I presume you must have passed every year, no. So there will be no need for that because only 2 are on the borderline, no? They are not failing, they're on the borderline. Okay, so we don't know who they are, but I will know them. Okay, so any questions so far? So if you look at our we are now on the last part, no. I hope we can cover this quickly because I understand you are also taking programming languages, right? Right? Any questions so far? No. So I'd like to go through this quickly, no. Okay. So programming languages. Now programming is an important component in your course, no, especially in your major subjects, no, because you're all IT and computer science and information sciences, no. You cannot evade programming. There will be programming courses later in the future. Now, if you graduate from an IT or a computer science course, you will most probably land a job that will require you programming. Somehow, no, you will have to write programs, like you have to write programs in SQL. Even if you write or create simple web pages, you have to use HTML and JavaScript. And then what you have Django, Python, you will always be working with them. So we will start with an introduction to the programming languages, no? Some of you must have done programming already, right? No, in senior high, no. So anyway, for those who haven't done any programming, it's okay, no. We are going to start from the beginning. Okay, I'm going to check the attendance again later. So what are programming languages? Remember that the programming we've done so far are closely machine language, no. Commands that are understandable, that are readily converted into machine code, opcodes that are converted into instructions that are processed by the CPU. Like when you say load, store, jump, no, these are machine code instructions present on a particular machine. But the problem with this kind of a language is each kind of a machine has a different language. Diba? The PDP-11 has a different language from the IBM 701. The 701 has a different, although it's a close resemblance of the IAS computer, it also uses a different language. No? So there was a need for a better language that came about after the second generation of computers during the 1960s, no, and the 1950s. Okay. And now the first programming language came about in the IBM computer, no? In 1957 or 59. We'll look at that. No? So ganito kasi, why is there a need for programming? Because if you don't have a third generation language, no? So the first generation language is the machine language. The second level is the level of assembly language. Assembly language programming is not done in binary. No, the main difference between assembly language and machine language is machine language programming is done in binary numbers, using binary numbers. Assembly language is done using hexadecimal numbers, which are easier to understand. And anyway, it uses the same instruction set. So therefore, assembly language programs are also machine dependent, which means that an assembly language may not apply to another machine. An assembly language program written for a particular machine, like an IBM 701, may not work for a PDP-11. Okay. Do you follow? So there's a need for a better language, a universal language, so that can be applied to a bigger set or a bigger family of computers. Nowadays, we only have two families, no? Like the one by Apple and the other one by IBM clones, no? Which are running Windows OS. Okay. Now here's a piece of C++ code or C code, a programming language called C or C Sharp or C++, which was written in the 1970s. No? An attempt to universalize all programming language. No? This is called. So you see this can be understood easily by humans or by people. No? So we start with a main. A main is a main function. A program is a collection of functions. Okay. So the first action taken by the program is CLR-SCR, which means clear the screen. Printf, hello world. This is going to print the program called hello world. And then gets means wait for an input from a keyboard. Okay, we will not run this anymore because we don't have I have a Visual C++, no, but I don't have a console, no, so we'll not run this anymore. Okay, as long as you see that this is a third level programming language, because one of the main distinguishing factors is they are not in machine instructions. No, they are not coded. Like you say, clear screen. It's not load. It's not a machine code. No, they are not coded. Like load store. No, we say printf, which means you print, okay, the following lines. No, printf to the console. So printf, print the string. We say get character. Okay, do you follow? And then third level programming languages are not written in binary or in hexadecimal, but they are written in decimal numbers. So all computations are in decimal. Okay. So on the other hand, these programs cannot be run directly. We will need a special software which will translate this into machine readable codes. So these are translators, no? So translators are either compilers or interpreters. Okay. So these are the levels, hierarchy of level language. There's a wrong spelling. No? This is from geeks for geeks. Geeks are really geeks. They don't know how to spell words. Okay. High level language like C Sharp, no? And so on and so forth, right? Okay. And then assembly language is the intermediary, which is in hexadecimal. Machine language is the one we've written before, and the computer hardware processes the language. Okay. Now nowadays there are three high-level languages. The third level, we have C, Python, C Sharp, R, Ruby, no, COBOL, Ada, no. The popular nowadays are C Sharp, C, C++, no, and then we have Python, we have PHP, JavaScript, Java, of course. Okay. Every now and then a new language occurs, no. So these are the most popular languages. C, C Sharp, and Python, Java, Scala, I'm not sure of this. C Sharp, Ruby on Rails is a scripting language. Go is a gaming language. And JavaScript is a language for developing web pages. Okay. Okay. Now, what must be a programming language? It must be simple and easy to learn. Okay, because programming is a difficult task, so it must be readable and understandable by people. No? Abstraction, which means it must be able to hide details, like before you do a jump, actually you will do a minus, no? Jump if minus, jump if above, no? No, that's what we like to avoid. So abstraction must be hidden. So jumps must just be if then else, no? So that the actual details of how they're executed are not visible to the writing programmer, the authoring programmer, okay? It must be portable, which means the code you write must be portable to other machines. No? It should be easily be convertible to machine code. No? It should be well structured, which means it should be easy to find an error. No? And it should have a single environment. It should be provided with a single environment, like an integrated development. It's called an integrated development because it's where you write your code and then run it at the same time. Consistent with syntax and semantics, which means semantics means the meaning of commands, which means that a particular command must have a corresponding particular function. Okay? Hindi pwedeng dalawang function. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. How did programming languages came about? Remember that during the 1940s, 1950s, when the computers were first invented, there was only one computer has one language. Now, in 1957, that was in the IBM 701, programming language was developed by John Backus called Fortran. Fortran stands for Formula Translator or Formula Translation. It's a third level language, so different from assembly language, written in order to develop scientific calculations like polynomial evaluation, no? And so on and so forth. Because computers those days are particularly used for high precision computations. So John Backus from IBM invented Fortran. Now, in 1958, okay, the following year, also somewhere related to DEC, no? Kasi may DEC na dito, di ba? DEC PDPs. A certain language was developed called ALGOL. This it didn't specify here, but it's somewhere related to DEC computers. No? ALGOL became the predecessor of, it's called algorithmic language. Okay, remember that before 1957, no, in the first early computers in 1883, programs are written as algorithms. No, algorithms are mathematical statements. No? The first program written by Ada Lovelace was an algorithm for Bernoulli numbers to run on the analytical engine. Okay, so ALGOL was developed, okay, to translate mathematical algorithms into computer programs in 1958. ALGOL was such a popular language that it became the basis for the development of other languages such as Pascal. Pascal is still prevalent, no? Nowadays. It's present on a programming platform called Delphi, which is very popular. And there's also ALGOL was the basis for C, C#, and Java. In 1959, in the IBM, this was the time, no, when IBM was translating into S33, no? Then they were trying to develop computers used for databases and development of business applications. No? So in 1959 in IBM, no, Grace Mary Hopper invented a program called COBOL. I was able to write this myself, no, because in the early PCs there was Microsoft COBOL. Microsoft also produced, no, its version of COBOL. COBOL stands for Common Business Oriented Language. It was very popular, no? It was used for a wide variety of applications like credit card processing during those times, airline management, airline reservation by IBM was written in COBOL. No? ATMs, credit card processing systems. Early ATMs were written in COBOL. It can be written over a wide area network. In 1958, 1959, language for artificial intelligence was written by John McCarthy at MIT. It's called Lisp. Lisp processing. Lisp. I've programmed this myself also. This became the basis for Ruby and Python. Now, in some other subjects, this is still taught, no? Not for practical applications, but for academic exercises. Because if you are good in Lisp, you can be good in other languages like SQL. Lisp is an object-based language. It's not object-oriented, but it's object-based, which means that when you describe a program, you describe it in terms of what it is, not how it is. No, so it's a different way of thinking. No, when you write Lisp, but this is useful because your conventions in Lisp can be used in SQL. Because when you write SQL programs, you describe, not enumerate steps. Okay, when you write programs, normally you enumerate the steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3. But for Lisp and SQL, you describe what you need, not how you are going to get it. Okay. In 1964, this is already in the IBM PC, almost, written by John Kemeny and Thomas Kurtz, Dartmouth College. I think this is Boston. Written wrote a very simple program called BASIC. Later, this was adopted by Bill Gates and Paul Allen to become the Microsoft's first official product. It's called Beginner's All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code, BASIC. Okay. The first product of Microsoft is BASIC, but this was first originally developed by John Kemeny and Thomas Kurtz. In 1970, a very popular language, Pascal, was developed by Nicholas Wirth, in honor of the French mathematician Blaise Pascal. This became very popular and is still present nowadays. Okay. Smalltalk was developed in 1972. Smalltalk is the predecessor, is the beginning of all scripting languages like JavaScript, Python, Ruby on Rails. This is not used anymore, but it's still used. A while, okay. Okay, I'm sorry, no. Let's resume, no. Okay. So a very important development came in 1972. Dennis Ritchie at Bell Labs. No? Bell Labs is now the modern AT&T. No? It's like PLDT of the Philippines. No? Develop programming language that can be nearer to machine language or assembly language, so that they can be used to write hardware related applications like device drivers. No? It's a high level language close to humans, no? Human language, and more removed from machine code. However, it can be used to manipulate the hardware better. No? It became very popular, no? And it's still present nowadays, and it was developed also by Microsoft as Microsoft C and Microsoft C Sharp and C++. MATLAB was developed for mathematical applications in 1978. This is still being popular nowadays. No? Other derivatives were Objective-C. There are many other derivatives of C. But in 1983, Bjorn Stroustrups enhanced the C language, no? Also from Bell Labs, no? Called C Sharp, C++, no? To make it object-oriented. No? Okay, object-oriented languages allow us techniques such as for using code, no? Such as information hiding, inheritance. No? So nowadays, programming languages like PHP, C Sharp are all object-oriented languages. Perl, a predecessor, is the first official net scripting language developed for the web, no? Under the Linux system. Perl, no? It was later followed by Ruby on Rails, no? Developed for scripting languages. No? System administration, network programming. Haskell, okay, also a derivative of MATLAB, no? For mathematicians. Python was developed in 1991 but became popular in the early 2000s when it was used officially in the net for developing web applications. Okay, and nowadays there are two popular platforms using Python. It's Django and Flask. You will use them sometime. No? Visual Basic was developed in 1991 by Microsoft. 1993 R. 1995 Java was developed by Sun Microsystems. Okay, it was used to be a general purpose language used for a wide variety of applications like device drivers, no, communications, even smartphones, no. Nowadays there are applications that are still running Java. 3 billion devices run Java. In 1995, PHP was developed for developing web pages, no, by Rasmus Landorf. It's very popular, no? It dominated the web. Nowadays, more than half of web applications are in PHP. Now, very popular languages, no, or platforms like WordPress, you have Laravel, are written on top of PHP. Ruby on Rails, also a programming language for developing web pages, no? Was written by Matsumo, Yukihiro Matsumo. It's a combination of a language, no? It's actually it's actually derived from Perl, no? JavaScript, very popular, no? Nowadays, one of the most developed popular language is JavaScript. We will use it. Why is that? Because Amazon, no? Amazon, the most popular website, most probably, no? Even more popular than, I think, no, Facebook, is developing applications using JavaScript. Now, if you want to land to a good job later in the future, no, it's an investment to study JavaScript. Why? Because most of the high-paying jobs in the net online require JavaScript. Like if you want to land in Amazon, programming job there, you must be proficient in JavaScript. Like applications like Node.js, Angular, no? And React, and jQuery. You will have time for this. No? In 2000, Microsoft developed C#. It did not succeed early, but later, no, they have a very popular platform called ASP.NET Core, okay, which is competing against, no, Django and Laravel. So most probably it will get a dominant share of the market in the next 5 years. I have used it myself, no. So may kalaban na ngayon ang Django and Laravel. Okay. ASP.NET Core. Scala 2003. Many other languages. In 2009, the Go language was developed for developing. It's an artificial intelligence language. The first few applications were games. Okay. Any questions? Hanggang oras ba tayo? 11 o'clock. Let's check my time. Hanggang 10:50, so we still have time. So anyway, formally, we will start our first programming session. You have your programming language introduction, right? Under Mr. Paasa. So if you are using C#, are you using C#? Everyone? What language are you using? C++ pala. So very close to JavaScript, so we can go through this quickly, no? We can go through this quickly, okay? We'll just have a little HTML, and I'd like you to create your own site. There are many other free hosting sites, no? But in W3 schools, look at, I will require you this, no? Create your own website in W3 schools. Dito, okay? Now, there's a new site there, okay? You can sign up and create a free hosted website, which means we are going to write web applications and really deploy them on W3 School so that I can check them myself, okay? I don't have to go through your code kasi mas madali mag-check ng ano dito. You have a free website, no? In W3 Schools, which can have 100 MB of data a month, no? 100 MB storage, no? I thought it was a 5 MB storage, no? Okay. Now I have my account myself. No, meron akong jrheralde.w3, jrheralde at this is my website, no? This is the website that I'd like you to create yourself, no? Okay? Ito ang gusto kong website because we are going to write assignments like adding 2 numbers. Okay? And then you go back. Okay? Do you follow? Okay. So, you create an account in W3 Schools. Okay? And create your initial website. Pwede naman ito eh. Okay? Do you follow? Okay. Can we copy this? No? We just copy this and I log in. I forgot my password. No? What's my password in W3 Schools? Let me just look it up. Okay. Okay, I now have my password. So for example, you can log in. W3 Schools is an educational website. Okay. Specializing in programming, any type of programming, no? HTML, Python, JavaScript, C++, no? You have everything there. So there's my, I'm still logged in, okay? Okay. Now you can enroll into the courses of W3 schools there, no? And then you can get certificates which you can include in your portfolio so that you apply to a website, no? Or to an online job, no? You can get recognized, okay? So for example, I have GRA Heralde. This is my, okay, this is my password. Now, if you log in there, okay, This is your site, no? Okay. You have free, free tutorials. Okay, you can study and sign in for a free tutorial, no? But you can have your spaces. This is the spaces. Click spaces. This refers to your web space, which is w3schools.com. Now I have a file. This is my spaces. No? If you look at, if I'll open it, no, that's my website, no. Okay, these are my files. Show files. These are my files. I have an index HTML. I have an add two numbers HTML. I have styles.css and scripts.css. Okay, I will upload them. I'll show you how to upload them, no? And then let's rename this later, no? Index2.html. Okay. Okay. Now the file name index.html will be the default web home page. Okay. You can use your Adu email. In my case, I'm using my Adu email for my account in W3 Schools. Okay? Anong email ang gagamitin? You can use your Adu email. No? You can use any other email, but it's good that if you use your Adu email because it's a registered site. Okay? So, nandito. Now, let's go to our first website. Okay? Can we do that? Okay. You download your Visual Studio Code. Okay, we'll write it here. You can use Notepad. Okay? Do you follow? Okay, let's go to basic HTML. What is an HTML? We have learned already. This is created by, who created this? Tim Berners-Lee. Diba? Who created HTML? Tim Berners-Lee. It's called Hypertext Markup Language. Okay, it was written by Tim Berners-Lee in order to be the standard language for document retrieval. No, and it was adopted by the internet. No? Diba? Sa history natin. Okay. I'm sure Tim Berners-Lee, oh, that's how he looks like. He invented it in 1999. No? It became official in 1999. It was officially written in 1993. No? HTML. So HTML is hypertext markup language. It's also a third level language used for document retrieval in the internet. Okay, do you follow? So we will have, you know what, everybody knows HTML, right? O what, merong hindi? Okay. Actually, we can start writing this already, no? So for example, you go to W3 Schools. It's already, there's a connection from our from our Daygler site. Okay. Medyo mabagal yung Daygler natin. So you just click this. I'm sorry, HTML script. Okay. Okay. Okay, this is an example. Okay, I can copy this. You follow? And I can go to my W3 Schools and I can create a new file. Okay, new file called index.html. It's creating it itself. Oh, it's creating itself. No, when you create a new file, it's named index.html. If it doesn't have, no, and then I can now create. I can edit this. Okay, I can edit this. And then paste. This is the basic HTML. An HTML file is composed of what? Tags. No? A tag will start with a lesser than sign and will end with a greater than sign. Do you follow? Do you follow? Now, every HTML should start with a doc type tag. A doc types tag starts with an exclamation point with a word, with the reserved word doc type and space and HTML. Okay. You specify that this is an HTML file by saying doc type. And then all files should be covered by the HTML. Ito. Do you follow? All files will be started with the HTML tag and the /HTML tag. The HTML tag indicates the beginning. Okay, and the /HTML tag indicates the end, or it's sometimes called the end tag. Do you follow? Do you follow? Okay, so from our HTML basic, we can copy this. Okay, your HTML file can have a body, it can have a header, it can have a footer. Do you follow? But everything must be included in the header tag. Okay, do you follow? So let's copy this. Okay, so HTML, there's a beginning HTML, there's an ending HTML tag, there's a beginning body tag. Like the HTML tag, the body tag must also have an end. So this is the end body tag. Okay, so H1 is a header tag. It's just a header for text, no? So these are different header tags called H1, H2, H3. They are classified according to their sizes. Okay, do you follow? Okay, so kung H1, I think H1 is the biggest. P stands for paragraph. Okay, so we can save this. Okay, now let's look at our W3 spaces. JRA Heralde.W3 spaces. Let us refresh. Now it becomes this. Okay, let me just check the attendance again. Okay, Alcantara present. Arca present. Asombrado. Walan.
Present, sir.
Kabuga.
Present, sir.
Kalubag. Sino pa bang bagong dating? Wala naman, no? Okay. Because you chat me, no? Every time you Zog. Is Zog there? So I'd like you to create your W3 spaces. Okay. So okay. Asa na yung ating wala na. Create the first HTML. Name it index.html. Index.html becomes your home page. Do you follow? Do you follow? That's the first assignment, okay? I'll bring that here. I'll post it later, no? The W3 schools. Okay? Do you follow? So every HTML should be started by a doc type HTML tag, an HTML tag itself, and a body tag. It should be terminated by an end body and end HTML. Okay? Do you follow? Any questions so far? So madali lang, no? You just create an account in W3 spaces. Let's look at header tags. What is a header tag? A header tag displays text labels in different sizes. The different labels are H1 to H6. They differ according to sizes. Okay, let's copy this. Dito na lang muna tayo sa Let's copy this and put it there in W3 spaces. Pwede na tayo mag-edit dito. H1, okay? Let's save. Then let's okay. A heading here. Now let's try the different headers, okay? So we can have H1, we can try H2. I think H1 is the bigger. Now you should be careful with this. If you start with an H2, you end with an H2. If you start with an H1, you end with an H1, okay? You don't start with an H1 and end with an H2. Okay. Let's refresh this. That's a little smaller, okay? Let's change the text anyway. This is heading 3, so that we will know that there's a change. Let's change this to an H3. Okay. But later, when we're writing programs, we'll do it in Visual Studio Code, okay? And then we will upload it to W3 spaces. Let's run this. Refresh. This is heading 3, no? A little different size. Let's try, finally, let's try H6. Save. You can actually click the preview, or you can go to your website and then refresh. So this is heading 6. This is a little different. Okay. Do you follow? Any questions so far? Okay. So I will give you an assignment to submit to me. Now you can look at the code here. No, you can look at the code of your HTML by right-clicking on a blank space and you click View Page Source in Chrome. So that's the same code you have. Okay. So are you familiar with this already? So you just review this. Okay. So that's the header tag. Very basic. Then there's the P tag. What's P? What does P stand for? P stands for paragraph tag. Okay. You can write very long paragraphs, no? By starting a header tag and ending with an end P tag. Okay. So there are two basic tags, no? Header and P, paragraph. No? That's aside from HTML and body. Okay. So what are the tags we have learned so far? Doc type, HTML, body, header, and P. Okay. What will happen if you just write a simple text? For example, I'll just write a simple text here. This is a simple text. And try to end this with an end tag. Okay. Let's try to do that. Hindi niya naintindihan, no? Let's look at simple labels. So, kailangan mo talaga mag-label tag. Okay. Or P tag. Okay. So it didn't understand this, and what will happen to this, to your W3 schools? So hindi niya naintindihan, no? We have to remove this. Okay. Save and you can click a preview. Okay, so that's what it is. No? You just preview. Okay. Salves. So we'll not delve deeper in so much right away, no? We'll just try the basic HTML which we will need in order to start JavaScript. Okay? Okay? Saan na tayo? So I'll post an assignment for you to create your own and pass your W3 school website. So magagawa na lang ako ng ng assignment in text file or question na lang, no? Question na lang. Anyway, there's still time. Let me just create a question. Create new category. This is this. We add a number. Short answer. Okay. Essay na lang. No? We'll cancel this. Let's make an essay question. Para walang ano. Yung short answer, there must be an answer. Okay. No. Okay. So we'll give this a deadline. Okay. In 10 days. Because you will have an assignment already. Pwede 5 days lang. Okay. Big man. Big man, you're late. No? So November 9 yung ating ano, no? Final assessment. That's barely 3 weeks more. What's a new message? Suarez. I'll put it here. Ito ba ilalagay? Ang haba nito, no? It should be in form of a quiz. Okay. We'll enable this until October 20. So kailangan na ito before October 20, no? You follow? Okay. Yeah, Chavez. Okay. Hang, no? Medyo naghang. Hindi na lang. Add na ba siya? Wala pa. Okay. So I hope you see this already now. It's already there. You give me your I will move it upwards, no? Ito na lang. Okay. Here now, you specify it here. Preferably. So mali. Preferably. So you can now start writing your your personal website. Free for all ito, no? You can add your picture there by the IMG tag. Okay. So create a website in your preferred host. Okay. And then launch whatever you need to launch because your assignments will be there, no? Chavez. Chavez is already marked and Q. Bigman and Q. Okay. Okay. Any questions so far? So let's do a little let's proceed a little further, no? These are easy things, no? Kailangan nating tapusin ito is before November 9. So we know paragraph tags, input tags, no? How would you like to ask for a question, for example? You want to have an interactive website where you ask a question from your client, no? From your user. Do you follow? So there are different types, no? The input type is done using an input tag. Okay, an input tag. So you can have examples here, no? For example, usually you will include inputs using a form. Okay, using a form. Okay, do you follow? Do you follow? So we can do this, no? We can use this, no? In our ano. You can also try it yourself and then run. This is the website you get. Okay, do you follow? Okay. So we can try this in our ano. We just copy the whole code. Now the label, the form tag, okay, is okay, is a okay, is a tag which will begin the input. Okay, and then the action will be taken to action page.php, for example. Okay, when you click this here, no? Okay, do you follow? Do you follow? Okay, so label is a label for the question. If you have a question, you will type a label first, and then the input, the answer will be on the type text. Do you follow? So to make this, no, let's just copy this, no, and try it in our website. Okay, okay. So nandito naman tayo sa ano, W3 Schools. Okay, let me just paste it here. Okay, and try to save this. Okay, and then preview. That will actually bring you to the same space. Okay, okay, so that's what it is, no? For example, you have John. Submit. You don't have an action that PHP, so you will go to this. Okay, do you follow? Do you follow? No? Okay, any questions so far? How do we move from page to page? For example, I have here in my I have here a program to add two numbers. This one. Okay, this adds two numbers. Okay, how do I make a link from this to that? Okay, you use the href tag. No? So, sorry, hindi ko nalagay sa ating href tag. I'll put it later, no? The href tag, no? The href tag allows you to put your to link your page from one area to another. Okay. Let me show my files. Meron ako dito ng example, no? Index 2, here it is. Here it is. href tag. href tag. No. They follow href tag. Okay. Okay. Can we let me copy this? Okay. Do I have another version, by the way? Ano lang. We can also look at the W3 schools for the particular ano. It's ref time. We'll search it from here. I forgot the syntax, no, but you can always do. I'll put it in our website. No? This is the AHREF, okay? Do you follow? Do you follow? I'll copy this and put this in my website. Let me remove this. If you press F12, I'm sorry, no. This is an example program for adding two numbers in. No, in I have add two numbers.html. Save. Let me go back to my my spaces. I just like to check the name. Show files, no? So the name is add two numbers.html. Okay, add two numbers.html. So let me check if I have the correct code. Add two numbers.html. Okay. So let me preview this. So I now have a link. Okay, so this is my add two numbers example. So the sum of 2 and 3 is 5. When you go back to your main page. Sure, the share is very late. Okay, so you follow. So your first assignment will be create your own web page. Put anything there, put a picture, put a profile, no? And then, like for example, if you will have an assignment, okay, you'll put it there. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Let me add an source here. Still needs to be reorganized. No? Okay. So we'll develop this slowly. No, we may not have a lot of styling. No? We'll discuss a little styling, but we'll concentrate on programming. Okay. Programming in JavaScript. Okay. So I have here an example of add two numbers. You know, first it asks for the first number, ask for the second number, click OK. They follow. No? Narca. So any questions? Okay, create your website now. Create your website yourself. Any questions for the moment? Okay. Okay, so that will be up for now. Okay, next meeting we'll formally start with JavaScript. Okay, if you're doing C++, I think we can do this quickly. Any questions? Okay. So I'll upload this session now. Okay. See you next meeting, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir.
You create your website. Okay. And then pass it there. Pass me the information of the website. Okay. Thank you, everyone.